Well, welcome to another Discover Headless Tech interview from headlesscreator.com. I'm Marcelo Lewin, the Headless Creator. As always, you can get a hold of me right there, Marcelo at headlesscreator.com. Today's conversation is all about the intersection between e-commerce and content with my guest, John Williams, the CTO at Amplience. Now, before I bring him in, normally I jump in and tell you all about headlesscreator.com. I'm not going to do that today. I normally do not get political. I will not get political today at all. However, I do want to send, my heart goes out to the people in Ukraine. What's going on over there, I can't even imagine what they're going through. I hope this ends quickly for them in a favorable way for them. Again, my heart goes out to all of them. And that's all I want to say. Just as a human, my heart is breaking for them. So with that, that's it. I'm going to bring on John and we'll jump in. Let me bring on John here. John, welcome.
Hi, Marcelo. How are you?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I'm pretty good, actually. And I'd just like to reflect and echo what you said around the Ukraine. I have many friends and colleagues in the Ukraine. And like you, I hope this ends quickly. And I hope everybody out there is finding somewhere safe to be right now.
Definitely. All right, let's jump into the content because I know you always share a lot of good information. You've got your YouTube video, which we're going to get into, that you do some great information out there. First of all, let's just jump in. How did you get into technology?
Yeah, I mean, my route into technology isn't what I would call traditional. I started working out in the northeast of England, so my first kind of jobs were working in factories. It was quite a difficult time to grow up in the northeast, and I spent a lot of time in manufacturing, and then finally in working on a farm because it was so difficult to get a job back then. And I was just really fortunate that I got onto a course which allowed me to really get into IT and get into programming. It was kind of one of these government things that help people. And I've always been programming since I was 11 years old. I published games when I was 11. You know, I'm part of that generation of home computing.
Yeah.
That's what got me into IT. And then, you know, I went to do my degree at Teesside University, which was a fantastic place to go. Learned loads of great things. And then so that sort of helped me launch my career into tech. And once I was in it, I felt that I had to work incredibly hard to kind of catch up. So for the last 25 years now, I've been in tech. I've really worked hard on just, you know, learning new things, getting involved with as many bits of technology as I can. Working in an agency, and LBI was awesome, which is like Publicis Digitas now. I got to play with so many CMS technologies and so much e-commerce. It was amazing. And then joined my friend and colleague and CEO, James Brook, to start Amplience. And that's been fantastic. We've learned so much. We've managed to apply what we know and to learn so much along the way, which is what I love about tech, is that you're always learning.
And I just learned something today because I always say Amplience, but it's Amplience.
Yeah, it's Amplience. It's
Amplience.
Amplified experience.
There you go. So I got to ask you, what was your first computer?
My first computer that I got from my father was a ZX81. I don't know if you can remember anyone what ZX81 was.
Yeah, the ZX81. Yeah. I love how you say Z because you're in England. But the ZX81, that's Sinclair. Wasn't that Sinclair?
Sinclair,
yes.
ZX or Z81.
With the membrane keyboard.
Yeah, a little membrane keyboard.
That shows you how old I am.
1K of memory.
Yes.
I got a memory pack I think it got like 16K. Yeah, and that was my first computer, but it didn't even have color, right? It was all black and white.
Right.
The output. So yeah, that was it. And
I remember that. I beat you because I had the Commodore VIC-20 with 3K. So I had 2 more K than you in RAM.
and then a Dragon 32 was where I taught myself lots of coding and got into machine language and all kinds of cool stuff. And I got some games published in magazines, because that's how you used to distribute technical content back in the day. Not videos like we're doing today, but actual magazines. So.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Cool.
Interesting. I love that. Okay, cool. So let's jump in. I mean, you're obviously into Headless CMS and e-commerce with Amplience. Again, I found mispronounce it, sorry. So why don't we start with talking about Headless CMS and e-commerce, and what are the basic differences between them?
Yeah, sure. So in the past, I would say that e-commerce, when it was back in the monolith days, would pretty much cover everything in terms of what you'd need for a site, right? It'd basically give you a site out the box. So you'd have your transactional elements, you'd have your product elements, so how you manage product, how you deliver product, how you add things into the basket, deliver a PDP, checkout, logistics, all of those things. And then it would always have kind of a small CMS built in. And that was more about templates. It was about injecting a bit of content in there, maybe some banners, maybe some promotional content, and some wrapper content around, say, the PDP. And that's what it really dealt with, was a page builder, right? It was just
Right.
a page, put some components on. And then we've kind of like, I'm not going to go through the whole detail of that, but we kind of where we are today, where actually what's happened is with new types of technology, microservices, Mac Alliance technologies, headless technologies, what's actually happened is that's all now started to separate. So before, if you were a CMS and you wanted to work in e-commerce, you'd have to plug into the e-commerce engine and be plopped into that kind of template. Whereas now, your content is now delivered as JSON. It's delivered as data, and your e-commerce site, your e-commerce platform, will basically take control over what it's good at, which are transactions or the catalog. Or you may even have a headless PIM, so you have your product information delivered as an API, and you have all your transactional pieces delivered as an API, and then you have your content, which will also be delivered through an API and data. And the interesting evolution that's going on right now is the war over the kind of front end, because the head's been taken away. You still need a head, but you need or many heads, and it's what really takes ownership of that. And in many cases, the CMS is now taking responsibility of the experience. So it's delivering the experience components as data, as well as the content. And then that's fused together in the UX with the e-commerce system.
Right, right. And when we say UX, we're talking about like web or mobile, but then you have other delivery channels that are non-UX, right? That don't have a UX piece to it, kind of like an IoT device.
Yeah, voice, IoT. And my favorite example of IoT is a customer of ours, Traeger Grills. And they deliver content into their grills because they have this Wi-Fi enabled grill. So that they can, you can go on your mobile or cell phone and actually manage a grill. And if I was at the supermarket and it alerted me that I needed more pellets. But as a part of that, you can actually get content on there like recipes, and those recipes can then plug into the grill, right? And all of that is kind of combined together, and you can go on the website, the mobile app, and then you've got the grill, and it's like kind of what I was really envisioning what IoT was, right? It's not just like a little gadget that's quite cool, but something that actually is a part of your life, something that is just part of an overall user experience, not just a sort of siloed one.
Yeah, definitely. And by the way, for those of you watching live, if you have any questions, type them in the comments and I'll ask John. So you've been talking about content. We defined already e-commerce, but you touched upon content. But let's define content. What do we mean? How is content different, let's say, in an Amazon page where you see the product stuff? What is content there? What, in your opinion?
Yeah, so I mean, it's really interesting because, like I said, before I joined Amplience, I was out in agency. And back in the day, I was working for a retailer as part of a job that was really focused on sort of media like DVDs, music, those kinds of things. And they wanted to start injecting content into their site. And during that time, it was really difficult to understand what content was, hence to your question, right? Because content in those days was all about maybe a banner, a promotional banner.
Right.
And there was less richness in that content. Whereas today, that's completely changed. That content can be anything from, the traditional banners that you see in websites, which is always the examples you use when you come to e-commerce, to really sort of more engaging editorial experiences. It could be things around informational things around a product. It could be informational things around a category, around a brand. What's becoming more and more important today is actually telling your brand story. It's no longer just, you can no longer just get away with just delivering products in a lister.
Yeah. So let's define the product page now, because before the product page was, you've got the picture, you've got, a little specs about the product and add to cart. What is the new product page today?
Yeah, so the product page originally was the place where you'd put all of your product information, and you would kind of enrich it with your media. So you'd have lots of different shots of the product. Maybe you would have some video, and it was all about just really about displaying the product and help people to convert. So just enough to go, you're at the end of the journey. Is this what you want to buy? And help you convert. You also added additional pieces of content, maybe recommendations, and then ratings and reviews. But it was all geared about the end of a fairly linear customer journey. But today that's changing. Customers are expecting a lot more than just the basic information or some what we would call romance copy, right? Something just to kind of you could read to find a little bit about the product. What they're expecting now is that they're not in that linear path anymore. They're not coming from I'm going to go to the home page, I'm going to go to loads of listing pages, and then sort of get filtered down until finally you get to a product details page. You're going straight into the product details page. You're in social media like Instagram. You go, wow, that looks really cool. My friend really likes that. I'm going to have a look at that. And you launch into that product page. Or you might be watching YouTube and really like something you see and get a link straight into the product page. You may be doing or finding something you've heard about and then doing a search in Google and going to the product page. There is so many routes now that go to the product page that it's actually becoming what I would be calling the new landing page. It's the first time a customer might have an experience with your brand, with your e-commerce site, is the product details page. And you've got to understand the dynamics that if you say on a browser like on a desktop browser, for instance, people have 10 tabs open at once. 10 tabs, so they can just open up your product details page and open up many others and just make comparisons. So you've got to really use content to help that customer understand why it's important to say buy from your brand or what you really deliver, how you differentiate, what's your story. And I think this is where personalization really comes into play as well. So it's understanding the context in which a customer is viewing that product details page and really understanding what content to deliver at that point in time. Because they may be maybe they bought the product and they go, oh, I just want to go back and see how that bit works. Which I've done myself. Or it might be that I'm kind of interested in it, but I don't really know much about it. And you kind of want to know a lot more about not just the product, but maybe the category. Maybe it's the first time I've ever bought one of those types of products. So it's really interesting that, there's a nexus of content that's all coming to play, all in the product details page at the same time.
Now, a couple of things you said that really is interesting to me. Well, you said a bunch of stuff that's interesting, but specifically right now, you mentioned about the product page and everything leading to that product page, right? But there's a couple examples I want to give you that really don't lead to the product page, that the content itself seems to be the product page. One example is I've watched YouTube videos talking